Ladies and gentlemen, citizens of the universe, this is Roster Watch. My name is Alex Dunlap. I'm joined by Cody Carpentier. And Cody, we have a new mock draft today dropping from the great Todd McShay. So we're going to react to that. But before we do, you are in the process of updating kind of a manual overhaul here of the Roster Watch Dynasty Top 250, which is administered by you and Trash Man. That's for our pro members to use in Dynasty startups or just for their general sort of Dynasty rankings, or, maybe looking for just the value of these guys, sort of how we see it as far as traditional one quarterback dynasty leagues and super flex dynasty leagues. Both of you guys have your top 250 in there, and we're just now at the point where we're adding in rookies to the pool. And I had a couple of questions about it. I know you're not done, so don't go run to the Dynasty Top 250, everybody, and think Cody's done with the way he has this stacked. But I do personally have a question about a group of wide receivers that are rookies that are being added in. So
Right.
I wanted to start with that. Oh, how is it that you have Tory Horton ranked this high?
How high do I have him ranked?
No, your wide receiver 6 over Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel and Eligiah Manor.
Yeah,
How?
I love him. So, okay, so that's in the rookie ranking side of things. I'll be honest, I just loved Tory Horton a year ago. I love everything that he does on the field. And the measurement side of things was really bumped him up. I think I had him at like 9, maybe 10 pre-combine. And post combine, I don't think Higgins and Noel hurt themselves at all, or Noel hurt themselves at all. Bond did. Bond came down. So that's kind of the movement that happened. It was Horton bumped ahead of those two guys, Higgins and Noel, who have a lot of helium right now and have been in the mix of this early second, potentially even
Late first.
people specking this late first round thing out there with both Higgins and Noel. But Horton is a guy that I expected, and I was worried. One thing about his frame and build from Colorado State is that he was going to measure in like 6'3" and some change and be like 183 pounds and have like this like bigger Devonta Smith situation, or this like Jerome Simpson type build where he's just really long and lanky and very injury prone. He did have knee surgery this past year, made him miss like 7 games. He only played in 5. Still very productive, over 3 yards per route run when he did play this year in the first 5 games. And like I said, he measured him much better, 6'2", 196, way closer to that 200 pound mark than I expected. And he ran a 4.41 coming off of knee surgery, which I was like, whoa, I didn't see that speed within his kind of range of outcomes either. I just really like Tory Horton. He's going to be a guy like I have talked about, what I like. I'm drafting over on Origins on Fast Draft right now. And I talked about the RG Harvey shares of north of 70%. There's only 2 guys on that whole app that I have more than 45% ownership in, or draft, whatever the hell, rostership, I should say, is Harvey and then Tory Horton, where I got 80% Tory Horton because he's going off at like 37, 38, 39 in those drafts, and I'm getting him every single time, notches ahead of there. I think he's got a lot of Jordan Addison to his game. I mean, you're down there in Texas. You remember Josh Reynolds as a prospect, right? He was pretty overshadowed, I'd say, at Texas A&M.
Well, no, Reynolds was awesome. He was good. He was super good. He, like, people thought of him as kind of smaller, super skinny Mike Evans. People loved it. People loved him.
But he played those 2, was it 2014, 2015 at A&M? He played with Mike Evans, right?
Did they overlap?
Was that 2014, the 1 year maybe?
Maybe.
Or was it Reynolds? I think Reynolds maybe was the one that came in like the year later.
Yeah, I don't recall those two overlapping, but I do remember people saying that, like, he had, they liked Josh Reynolds. Everyone liked Josh Reynolds as far as his, they said what people would say is that he had this, a similar contested catch ability to Mike Evans, but he just wasn't this beast, power forward out of Galveston Ball that was able just every, total my ball mentality. It felt like he was sort of discount Mike Evans, but just smaller and certainly a lot skinnier. Very gangly and lanky as far as his frame.
I think that might be the best comp for him too, to be honest with you, is Josh Reynolds for Tory Horton, who Josh Reynolds was drafted in the 4th round. Horton's probably going to be a 4th, 5th round guy. 2-time All Mountain West first team captain. Should have been a 3-time Mountain West first team. He didn't get it this past year. He's just been a target hog. 18 of 30 games at Colorado State. He had more than 6 receptions, sub 5% drop rate the last 2 seasons. Like I talked about the yards per route run. I think overall he's a stud. And this isn't a overwhelmingly strong class. So for me, that's probably going to be my one differentiator in that group. I know people have Alec Ayomanor from Stanford also probably ahead of him. I just don't.
Yeah.
I like Higgins. I like Noel, but I like, there's a little more big play possibility and potential in Tory Horton.
I just don't see it, man. I don't see it at all. There's no way I could put Tory Horton ahead of those 2 guys.
I think there's more way, but top range of outcome for Noel and Higgins. Can you tell me what they are?
Top range of the outcomes?
Yeah.
Yeah. The top range of outcomes for Jalen Noel is to come into the league and be as awesome as he's been throughout this whole process, completely wowing us at every single turn and being an Amon-Ra St. Brown type of asset for a team.
I don't think so.
What do you mean you don't think so?
I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown is
talking.
top 5 player in fantasy football.
You said what's the top range outcome?
He's a top 5 player in fantasy football. Noel does not have top 5 player in fantasy football range of outcome.
Well, dude, you would have said the same thing about Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Amon-Ra St. Brown had a hell of a pedigree.
Went to
USC.
Because EQ St. Brown was so good coming before him.
No, the Papa. I'm talking about Big Papa.
Because his dad was a power lifter who said that who taught his kids not to stretch because cheetahs don't stretch. I mean,
that's what Randy Moss said.
What?
That's what Randy Moss said.
Okay, look, dude.
I'm just saying, man. Everybody knew Amon-Ra.
So you're not. What is Jalen Noel done? What is Jalen Noel done to make you think that there's no way that he could reach his maximum potential? What is Jaden Higgins done?
Him as like Christian Kirk.
Okay, but what has Tory Horton done to make you think that he's all of a sudden going to be? You're saying maybe he's a Josh Reynolds. I think
he's a guy that had offers to go to bigger schools just because he's a Colorado State guy. Like I think Colorado State and Iowa State aren't that far apart.
Okay. Like I'm not even talking about Iowa State versus Colorado State. I'm talking about the film I've watched on the guys. I'm talking about what I've seen live in person from these players. I'm talking about like you even said yourself, you view Tory Horton as like a 4th, 5th round guy.
Yeah,
you said yourself that what?
Amon-Ra was a 4th round pick.
Okay, but what about Jalen Noel?
What about him?
What round pick is he?
I mean, he'll be a 2nd round pick.
What about Jaden Higgins?
He'll be a 2nd round pick. What's the hit? I mean, if this is really what we're going to gauge this off of, just trusting what the NFL is going to do.
I'm not saying that we're going to be trusting what the NFL is going to do, but it's certainly a bullet point that you could consider. Like these teams are about to spend millions and millions of dollars on these players, and that like to me, I've seen it out of Jalen Noel. I didn't even know he was going to run a 4.39. And he goes and he's going
to run a 4.41.
And I didn't think that Higgins was going to run a 4.47. All these guys, like those two, the 2 Iowa State guys have been extremely impressive through this process. They feel like more guarantee on the box for me. When I look at Higgins, I can say to myself, you asked for the ultimate sort of upside, and I think it's an Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you say it's a Christian Kirk, that's fine. If Jalen Noel turns out to be a Khalil Shakir, a team would be fine with that. Khalil Shakir is a guy that just was able to secure the bag for his 2nd NFL contract with a good team in the Buffalo Bills. Jaden Higgins, if the comps that I originally had on him are all wrong. Because the comps I originally had on him, like the Kenny Gallaudays, this kind of stuff, bigger, like Alan Lazard, this type of stuff. I thought he was going to run a 4.6. The guy runs a 4.47. And then he has everything good about his profile. He's got the Johnny on the spot, chain mover, good hands, everything that we talked about with Higgins, right? It's like And now we get to add on the fact that he's actually super fast. I don't know, man. We're talking about if we know that PFF's cockamamie, but you can at least think that they believe that he does something well if he's the second highest graded receiver in the Power Five.
I'm not going to go out there and just say he's fast, but and I'm not going to overweight his 40, just like I'm not going to overweight Matthew Golden's 40 because Matthew Golden doesn't play with that speed. So I think the bottom line here for me is none of these guys are great. I don't think any of them are elite. I graded on tape Horton the highest of these three guys. Higgins and Noel grew through the process at the Senior Bowl. Didn't do anything to hurt themselves at the combine. Horton helped himself at the combine, being healthy. And
Higgins didn't do anything to help himself at the combine. Are you kidding me?
From all three of these guys is if Horton is Josh Reynolds and Noel is Khalil Shakir and Higgins is some sort of Lazard Tim Patrick.
No, you can't say that for a 4.47 from Jaden Higgins.
4.47 is what it is. It's not like it's a 4.38.
He weighs 220 pounds.
He doesn't play at 4.47 speed.
It does, but he's shown that he's now put it on. He's now quantifiably shown us that he can run that fast.
Okay, so Golden showed he could run a 4.29. Does that mean Golden now becomes just like a pseudo god? Like, is he Jamar Chase now?
No, he's not Jamar Chase.
Okay.
But I'm not making the case that he's Jamar Chase. I'm making the case that these two players are better than Tory Horton. You have it wrong. It's just wrong and it's bad. And the thing I worry about in the Dynasty Top 250 is I don't have a ranking in there. And Trash Man's he's gonna say like, oh, Cody has it here, and he's gonna rank it just like you do. and we're gonna end up taking Tory Horton in like the 8th round of these Dynasty startups, and it's gonna be bad.
Yeah, you can be wrong. It's okay. I'm not going to be overextended. Listen, Tory Horton's not going to be
you have already overextended yourself by putting Tory Horton as your wide receiver 6. It's a bad process.
Wrong.
It's just bad.
I don't know how you can say that when it's the whole class innately after the top 5 guys it's a mishmash. It's not like a pure.
You're saying that after the top 5 that after the top, because Trey Harris needs to be in there.
Yeah.
So it's a 6.
Harris and Hunter are my 5A, 5B. They're both ranked number 5 in the ranking for obvious reasons.
All right. So you're saying after you get through that, after you get through those guys, so we're talking about whatever order you have them in: Ted McMillan, Matthew Golden, Emeka Egbuka, Luther Burden, Travis Hunter, Trey Harris. It's like, I think that anybody's going to have those 6 in some kind of mishmash at the very top. Except for the fact that you see some people that have Jalen Noel or Jaden Higgins in that mishmash. Fair? Because you do. Okay.
There are people I know Brett Whitefield has Noel as like his receiver 3.
Okay. So with that being said, what you're telling me is after that stuff that's very clear at the top, you enter into this completely these unknown waters and these vast number of prospects that you begin, like, the real rankings start now, right? The real rankings start now. And you're saying whenever you get to that spot, you're like, okay, in these vast open waters, my guidepost, my lighthouse, the place where I'm going to, where I'm going to start from right there with sorting out the rest of these guys, is Tory Horton from Colorado State. To me, that can't be right.
Horton's not even going to be a top 100 dynasty player asset.
So that means you don't think that Jaden Higgins or Jalen Noel will be?
Not today.
And you don't think Alec Iamaner will be, even after?
No.
I'm
not gonna go out and get over my skis on an underwhelming group.
You are over your skis on Tory Horton.
Good players. They're good players.
So what you're saying is you would rather get out over your skis on Tory Horton than Jaden Higgins or Jalen Noel?
No,
because you are over your skis.
I'd rather get over my skis a little bit on Tory Horton and just stay in the pocket. I think I'm in the pocket on Noel and Higgins.
Okay, but Cody, if you think you're in the pocket with Noel and Higgins, you like that necessarily makes you out of pocket on Tory Horton.
I just said I know I'm extended on Tory Horton.
Okay.
That's my take. It's like you saying you love Scadaboo. It's like there's very few people that love Scadaboo to the level that you do.
No,
Like,
what do you mean? I have Scadaboo as my running back 7, and I think that that's right.
okay.
What like
Some people like MJD have him at running back 3. What I'm saying is like there's even in that group, in that running back group where we know this how strong the top is, you have I think MJD's wrong. You shouldn't have Scadaboo at 3, but even you having Scadaboo at 7 when you could go out in the market right now and I think it's you would see a wide variety of ranks for a Scadaboo. Anywhere from probably 6 to 15.
well, but that Cody, that's this running back class.
Correct.
Where are you going to go in the market and see Tory Horton? You're going to be the single highest person in the world on him. I'm not the single person high. McShay is higher on Scadaboo than I am.
Yeah.
I think he has him over Caleb Johnson.
If you think you're going to bully me into getting off of Tory Horton or
I'm not bullying you. I'm just trying to figure out the process that led you to this.
I mean, I laid it out to you. The guy had a 31% team market share. He should have been a 3-time All Mountain West. He got injured, missed 7 games this year, had knee surgery, missed all the season, came back from knee surgery in a 4.41, was supposed to be 6'3", 180. He ended up being 6'2", 196. He's built how I want. He's elite in yards per route run. He's a guy with on the field as a route runner I love. I think his hand-eye coordination and his awareness is elite. I think he's completely under the radar for these obvious exact reasons I'm talking about right now. I did think he was slender, but again, the build came through and kind of auto-corrected that a little bit. I think that there's a lot here for upside with Tory Horton in the whole profile. I'm just saying, I don't think that it's out of pocket or wrong to say that Noel and Higgins, it's more than likely they're just going to be good receivers than they are to be elite receivers. And I think that there's a shot, and this is my take, and this is my stance, is I have Horton graded as a second-round graded receiver, which is probably going to be higher than everybody else, like you said. But it's to the fact that I believe he has in his range of outcomes elite traits and elite output. And that's going to be something that, like in fantasy, like if I can get an advantage with a guy like Horton where nobody's drafting the guy and I can sit here and I can go, well, I love what Tory Horton brings and I can see some Jordan Addison to this guy's game in a Josh Reynolds body. It's not going to cost me that much to get a Tory Horton like that. Now, if I'm sitting in a dynasty draft, this is the also thing. If you're sitting in a dynasty draft, just because the rankings are built a certain way doesn't mean you just have to be like, yep, taking him right there. You have to understand, first off, your group, first, and secondly, first off, the other 11 owners you're drafting against, and secondly, general ADP. If general ADP is showing you that Noel and Higgins are going off at pick 114 in dynasty drafts, and you can see Horton's ADP is 270, well, then what? Don't be a dummy.
Which is probably realistic.
Cool. Don't draft Horton at 114.
But see, some people might not know that and just look and say, like, this is the list. Like, this is how Cody would draft them.
It's not a cheat sheet. It's a rankings. Would you rather have me put Tory Horton at receiver 17 because that's where his ADP is at, or put him at wide receiver 6 because that's where I think he belongs? You tell me.
Well, but we're doing dynasty. But we're doing a dynasty top 250. We're not doing a prospect ranking sheet.
This is a dynasty top 250 rankings.
Yes, but it's not a prospect ranking. It's a dynasty fantasy football ranking.
Correct. It's dynasty fantasy football ranking.
So you're saying if I'm picking players, I pick them in this order?
No. Dude, in any ranking ever, you have to understand what you're doing, who you're drafting against, who you're competing against, who you're trading with. You have to understand the market, the value, and everything. That's just dynasty game theory.
No, it's not. I mean,
that's how I play fantasy football. I rank it how I see it, and then I adjust when I'm in the moment, given the situation.
Cody, shouldn't our job be to tell people who to pick? and not say, hey, here's a list of some cockamamie thing that Cody believes, and then now we're going to, but now you go off into the woods by yourself, and we're going to leave it your devices to say like, oh, Cody's out of pocket on this guy, so I'm not going to draft him until later. It's
okay,
like, come on,
let's
dude,
add in the consensus worldwide ADP market into our rankings so people can see where we stand, because heaven forbid, like, I'm not going to sit here and put in a ranking that is consensus with ADP or like 5 spots higher than ADP. No, like, if I'm going to make a stance, I'm going to make a stance on a player. It's like making a stance on, Josh Allen as a rookie, right? You're going to make a stance on a guy. You're not going to be like, well, I think he's pretty good. No, you're going to come out. You're going to go, man, that guy's got a hose, and I see some potential right there. You're going to be convicted about it. You're going to give your opinion. You're going to come out and you're going to say, I don't know why the hell Jonathan Mingo is being mocked at the end of round 1. He is not a first-round wide receiver, right? You're going to come the inverse and say, why in the hell aren't people talking about Luther Burden in the first round? He belongs in the first round. You're going to have a take, right? It's the take. It's the thought. We're not putting rankings together.
Cody, I've been having takes doing this for 15 years, and strong takes where I said, like, at our company, we're literally not allowed to say the words "in my opinion." It's not like it doesn't even matter, right? We're here to give takes and talk about these things. But what I will say is, if we're making a dynasty top 250, it should be the top 250 rankings for in fantasy football. Whereas if you have them in the prospect sheet that's going to be available to our pro members at 6 overall, people are like, dang, Cody loves Tory Horton. In the dynasty top 250, if there's not something, because like you said, it's not the cheat sheet. The cheat sheet during draft season, or if you're using the best ball cheat sheet, you follow the 3 simple rules at the top of the sheet of paper. You pick the players, and we map it out for you, and we leverage you versus ADP, right? And it's already done for you. What Cody's saying now is he's saying, all right, if he's going to do this thing where he's not going to take into account projected draft capital for these players, and he's not going to take into account.
I'm not taking that into account.
No. Because you have Tory Horton ranked ahead of 2 guys who you freely admitted have at least 2 rounds better draft capital.
Oh, freely admitted, but you can also see in the sheet that I admittedly haven't updated with my actual grades post-combine. Pre-combine, I had a 2nd-round grade on Tory Horton and 4th-round grades on Noel and Higgins.
Okay.
So if you can infer that I just told you everything I did about my analysis of Horton post-combine, you could infer that that's probably not going to go down. I'm probably going to continue with that 2nd-round grade on Tory Horton. And if I told you that I also believe that Noel and Higgins didn't hurt themselves at the combine, they rather helped themselves, they're probably going to come up. None of those things are bad. It's just my grade. It's my thoughts, it's my analysis, it's my ranking. Now, if you want to tell me that I should have a different process for ranking these rookies in Dynasty versus how I rank them in my fantasy football rookie rankings, which in my mind are the same exact damn thing.
No, those are the same things.
Same exact thing.
Yeah.
So why should I move them? Why should I change how it's laid out in the Dynasty ranking? Why should I have in my rookie ranking Horton as my 6th receiver, and then in Dynasty have him be my 12th receiver?
Because if people, well, I'm not saying he should be your 12. I'm saying if the ADP is something like, you can get him in the 18th. You could get that guy in the 18th round of some startup draft.
He's wide receiver 15 on Keep Trade Cut right now.
Okay, so what is that? What in a rookie wide receiver 15? It's probably
correct. Jalen Noel is wide receiver 13, by the way.
Who really? All right. What is Higgins?
10.
Okay. So and the guys before them are all guys that you have ranked, because I guarantee you that Ian Manor is ahead of those guys. Isaiah Bond's probably ahead of those guys.
8 and 7. Restrepo's 9.
And so so that's bad.
But Tez Johnson's 12. This is consensus. Keep Trade Cut. It's a worldwide consensus.
I get it. But what I'm saying is, if we're like within the Dynasty top 250, that's for you and Trashman to administer. Like I said, It's fine. You can do whatever you want, have your own takes, do whatever you want. But just realize people are going to go in there and they're going to look at that ranking and they're going to say, I'm picking based off this ranking. And so if you don't want them to do that, I would say we need to put in ADPs and just say like, yeah, hey, here's the ADP and there's a big ADP differential here. You know what I'm saying? Like people should be able to know. They should be able to know. Like,
That's fair.
Because
I don't think that's a bad thought. I think that's fair. They should also listen to the show. They should also tap in every single day to the show, and they can listen to these conversations, these rants, these diatribes, and understand the top 250 and stay informed. And that'll help you even take advantage of those rankings and win your drafts. So I'll adjust, but I'm not going to adjust the rank.
No, you shouldn't adjust the rank. Like you said, have your take. It's fine. I just don't want it to be confused. Like it confused me to see. That's all. And I don't want others confused. And like Cody said, that's why you listen to the show. It's why you like the show. Subscribe to the channel. We're doing it every day. We're putting a lot of time and effort into making sure that we're doing this consistently and bringing you this content. But we can't continue to do it if you don't like the show and don't subscribe to the channel, because those are the metrics that our partners in this business look at. And obviously we all have a say in sort of how our efforts are, how our kind of, I don't even know the word, Cody. What's the right word? And how we're, just how we devote our time, right? And if like they're like, man, we're not getting our any ROI on devoting this much time with Trashman having a daily show, Alex and Cody having a daily show. It's like the way that we're seeing we're getting an ROI on this is truly by your likes and your subscribes to the channel. So if you want us to keep doing it, please like the show, subscribe to the channel. All right, let's talk about McShay's mock draft. Now we're not going to go over every pick because I would encourage anybody, not to ask you about not to ask you to do a bunch of stuff, because the first thing I want you to do is buy a RosterWatch Pro membership. But if you're into mock drafts and stuff like that, McShay does have a paid product. I think it's like $4 a month, and he just sent out his mock draft 2.0 today, and found it interesting. But for the reason that it is a premium product, we're not going to go through and show it and all the rest like we did Daniel Jeremiah's the other day. But he does kick it off at the very beginning with Cam Ward to Tennessee, as we, that feels like at least we're going to have one gimme at the very top, Cody, unless
the Giants trade up for it,
unless somebody trades up, right? I'm beginning to think more and more also he has Shedeur Sanders going to the Cleveland Browns. And dude, I'm just starting to think myself too that I think that that's what I'm going to do unless I just hear any that's too much different. And the main thing I just keep coming around on is I'm like, dude, they're going to be in trouble with this Deshaun Watson thing for a while now. Shedeur hasn't said he doesn't want to go there. It's actually a team with a pretty good roster. I think that you just got to do it. You got to lock in your quarterback here. And I know that whenever you do that, you're saying, okay, would you do that? Because Abdul Carter is just so good and Travis Hunter is so good. And it feels like you've gone quarterback of two guys who aren't truly elite players. Whereas you have Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, probably the two most talented in this draft. I guess some people have Mason Graham in that category. Maybe not after his testing.
I think the main consensus is just these four guys. And then these two, Hunter and Carter, the two best players. I haven't heard Graham's name as much in that conversation post-combine.
What do you think about how? Because I think that the big sort of the skeleton key here at the beginning is how these top three go off the board. And for these purposes, he does have the Giants going with Travis Hunter. Now Travis Hunter, the Giants, would they play him at wide receiver or corner? Because they signed Paulson Adebo. It's not like that would really be. He's not that good.
My theory's been all along that I think this Hunter thing is would have been the most epic if they would have gotten Stafford and then had Malik Neighbors with Hunter on the opposite side. And then you truly have options. But now it seems like it's going to be, if they get a quarterback in free agency, it'll be Russ or Rodgers. And then you kind of feel like you need Hunter on the opposite side of Malik Neighbors. And also, I cannot believe we didn't talk about it. I don't think on any show, but paying $12 million a year for 3 years to Darius Slayton is like diabolical.
How much do they do it?
3 years, $36 million to Slayton a couple weeks ago.
Gosh,
It's
that is
bad money.
horrible.
Bad. Like not even like, hey, 1 year, 12 million. Okay, cool. I could understand. I could see like the need and stuff like this, but 3 years, 36. I was like, woof. They also got Jalen Hyde on the roster, like a lot of lanky dudes. I just think Hunter, man, him playing opposite Neighbors, that really gives you a sick duo. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you got Deontay Banks, who they drafted in round 1 from Maryland a couple years ago. You got Hunter on the opposite side. He'll play there. That's the theory anyway. And then, Carter, many view as like, you kind of just got to take him because he's an edge rusher in the state of football right now. But I mean, like I talked about yesterday, they got Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns and Big Dexter Lawrence. Like they have a pretty fine front. So I think
have you ever said to yourself though, man, I wish we didn't have this awesome edge rusher.
Who was the guy that we were talking to? I think it might have been Brad Holmes was asked about acquiring a second edge rusher or something like this. Somebody phrased it this way during the combine, and he goes, I'd like to have 3. I'd like to have 4 edge rushers. He was just like, I'd like to have more and more, like the more the merrier, I think it was mainly about like adding Max Crosby or, Hendrickson to Hutchinson. But I think if you look at it from like a Giants perspective, how sick would that be though? If you had Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Bryant, I mean, that's a maniacal trio of sack artists right there.
Yeah. I think that it gets interesting. Look, I think that it really, I don't even know. Because I honestly think that things start with this draft at the 6th pick, because I think those 4 go, and then I think Jacksonville is just going to take Mason Graham. That's how McShay has it.
Daniel Jeremiah put Jalen Walker in here the other day. I thought that was interesting. There's theory there that Trayvon Walker has been had in trade conversations the last couple of days.
He's a bad pick.
We knew that on day 1.
So yeah, we did. We were there to talk about it. Was that when we were in Las Vegas?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. I just think it. Okay. So maybe at 5 there is some intrigue. At 6 though, and it's been discussed, but I think DJ had this with Ashton Genty going to the Raiders.
It's becoming more consensus, I'll tell you that.
Well, that's because people have him as like, if we're just talking about the prospects, how you rank them, and like if you're talking, position value completely out the window. If you're just talking about ranking the players in the draft, some people have him as like a top 3, top 5 player in the draft, and it's certainly a need. Pete Carroll's he's gonna want to run the football. That Chip Kelly liked to run the football last. He's always liked to run the football, despite what you think about what do you say? What a kind of creative play designer he's always been. He's still always loved to run the ball.
I kind of have a problem with a few things, man. And we've talked about the Kelvin Banks thing at tackle. I have a problem with people's view on where he's going to go versus like Will Campbell, who we'll get to in a minute. And then I also have a problem with the running back stuff. And it's not about the running backs in particular. Like I have a problem with Genty going top 10. I have a problem with this other stuff. It's more of like, I have a problem with the theory and the things that are being said about the Raiders expending the 6th overall pick on a running back in a class that's designed the way it is with the Genty and Omari and Hampton. Really, and then also how they're sitting there with clearly a running back need, but the 37th overall pick where it's perceived that Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, who have obvious attachments to Chip Kelly and obvious success in the Chip Kelly system, it's just like, well, they obviously need offensive line help and running back help. And you're going to, if you look at it from a multi-round perspective, you're 1,000% taking Armand Membu at 6 and like
Yes.
Quinshon or Travion around 2 or trading up for Travion versus taking a Genty and then maybe getting like a
Josh Connerly.
Josh Connerly or Ariante Ursary or, Cam Williams or something like in the second round. Like you're 1,000% going the Membu route.
You're an idiot if you do that.
Exactly. And it's the same thing that goes for the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bear conversation's been ridiculous. As soon as they drafted
It isn't like Braxton Jones, like you know what I mean? It's like I think it's a little bit different with them because it's not like Braxton Jones at left tackle just totally stinks. He's not the worst. It would be a big upgrade. I think it's idiotic. I think it's idiotic if the Raiders do it. At least with the Bears, I could maybe see it. But
if Kelvin Banks falls to you at 10, you are an idiot to draft a running back at 10 and pass on a left tackle. That is a clear upgrade.
No, I agree. I kind of think it's idiotic too. I think that the purest form of idiocy is the stuff where if the Raiders were to take him there, that feels like Pete Carroll taking Rashad Penny where he did.
And that's the thing.
Whenever he had no business doing it.
It's the one time I've said it on multiple shows. Pete Carroll and Spytech in the history of them in their situations. It's the one skill player they've drafted in round 1, and it was Penny. And at the time, it was a hellacious reach, and it was a Mountain West running back.
That's good. All right, but then so the insanity continues here with McShay as we get to pick number. I think that pick number 9 is really interesting. If I don't know. Quarterback comes into play there. I think it was Kuiper maybe who recently was that DJ? They put Jackson Dart to those guys
to the Jets
to the Saints.
Somebody did the Saints.
I thought I saw a mock. It might have been like Bucky Brooks or one of the. You know what I'm saying? It could have been something like that. But there's been some kind of Jackson Dart stuff to the Saints, and maybe it was a PFF mock draft or something like that. It might not have been
Kuiper said to the Saints.
Okay. But here to the Bears, we were just talking about it. McShay sends him Omari and Hampton, where if he did go, I would love it. I would love it just for fantasy. I wouldn't love it if I was a Bears fan.
To me, it makes more sense than Genty.
It makes, yes, but it's still bad, right?
Correct.
Yeah, it's still bad. What about you? Any of these picks kind of stand out to you coming up? Here's another one where Matthew Golden goes at number 12 to the Cowboys and has just a sizable difference between where he and the second wide receiver go, which is was Ted McMillan. Where did he go to?
27 to the Ravens.
All the way at 27.
Gosh, I wonder who had him at 28 last week.
Oh, do you think that McShay's cribbing off your mock draft over roster watch?
No. It's just I just love that people, the way they've run out to this Ted McMillan thing, and they're like, "You're such an idiot if you don't think Ted's a top 10 pick." Blah 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 blah. And now look what's happened the last month. It's been completely flipped on its head. And Golden's now, borderline consensus, like 12th overall to the Cowboys. And Tet is definitely a consensus out to the top 20 amongst all the big mock drafters. DJ, McShay, Kuiper, everything out to the top 20. Golden inside the top 15. It's a complete flip on the head. And everyone's just trying to, backpedal to these Tet's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I don't think Tet's bad. I think he's
he's good. He's good. I think he's good.
He's a very good receiver.
Yeah.
But he's not a top 10 receiver. I don't think Golden is either. But I just think that was interesting. Drops him all the way to 27. It's kind of an interesting fit, I think, in Baltimore.
It would be a disaster. It would be a disastrous dynasty fit for everybody taking him at the 102. It would just be like if you're taking him at the 102, you got to bake in the shot that he ends up going to some kind of Baltimore. You know what I mean? Like because that would be a complete disaster. It looks like they're bringing back Mark Andrews. They brought in what did they bring in Hopkins? I've
Yep, 5 million.
brought in
Cheap,
Hopkins.
half the price of Darius Slayton.
They're shit. They still have Bateman. They have Zay. It's like I think that would be terrible for Ted McMillan. Just like the target share is going to be lower anyway, just because of the nature of the offense. With I should say the target volume, even if he was able to bite off a giant share, still is going to be less than other teams, just because of the nature of the offense. So a lot of tears there for anybody that drafted Ted McMillan early. Not only that his draft capital is so low, showing what the league thinks about him, but also that he ends up in maybe the nut. Is it? I mean, I don't. That's probably the worst spot. Is there a worse landing spot?
For Tet?
Yes.
I mean, I had him to Detroit. I don't know if that's any better.
Do you know what would be worse? Going to Pittsburgh to join up with DK Metcalf and George Pickens. that would be that would be worse for Ted, and that would be the most bizarre pick that you could ever imagine for sure.
Would you? We were talking about dynasty earlier today. Would you rather have Tet or Ricky Pearsall?
Well, are we just to the point where Brandon Ayuk is going to be back as a San Francisco 49er, and
That's how I have it ranked. Yeah, I have Pearsall counted for as if Ayuk is still there.
I still think Pearsall breaks out.
So do I.
That's tough. I mean, I think personally, I'd rather have Pearsall, but I know that the value is greater on Ted McMillan because you're not going to be able to trade away Pearsall for the 1.03 in a rookie draft. You just aren't. I've seen Pearsall in some of my. I saw a trade with Pearsall in one of my dynasty drafts. I wish I could pull up the exact trade, but I believe it involved a player in like an early second. And I was like, well, I could see both sides of it because I forgot who the wide receiver was, but it was somebody playable. It was something where it's like no name value, but somebody I'm like, man, you can probably actually get some fantasy. I think it might have been like Christian Kirk in a 202 or something. And I was like, man, I can see both sides of this because you can play that guy next season, and I'm going to be able to get, I might be able to get Judkins or something. So, I'm not. I wouldn't do the deal. I would want more than Pearsall to trade away the Ted McMillan as an asset right now. Even though I think I'd rather have Pearsall. I think I could get more.
I think you're right.
Why do you ask? Oh, you're just trying to stack it up.
I got him back to back in dynasty. I wanted to see if you thought the rest of my dynasty rankings were cockamamie.
No, it's mainly I was just looking at down that one portion. I said, "Oh no, man, we got to fix this." All right. Anything else that you just kind of stuck out to you as far as this one? Travion Henderson to the Broncos. I was like, well, my comp Trash Man, I think actually did a really good write up on Travion Henderson yesterday. And in the end, it looks like he's going to have Travion as his running back 2 in the class over Omari and Hampton. I do hate it. I think that's bad, but it's not miserable. It's not terrible. It's like that's his opinion. I mean, I think it's bad, but there's not a distinct argument to it. Just to say, process wise, I can't understand how that came to be. Right. His comps for Travion were what was his comp? He had Aaron. I think it was Aaron. Was it Aaron Jones? He had. Yeah, he had Aaron Jones.
Dynamic Aaron Jones.
Yeah, I kind of see him more as a Dude, I see him as a Jahmyr Gibbs or a Kamara. Maybe a Felix Jones. This kind of player. Stick of dynamite, except silky smooth stick of dynamite.
I'll agree with the Gibbs side of things. I don't really have a comp, to be honest with you, for Travion. That's one guy I've had a really tough time with. But I'd be much closer to Gibbs than Kamara because of what you just said, the stick of dynamite. I don't think Kamara's ever had a stick of dynamite in his pocket, let alone his vicinity. But I think from
it's more the pass catching,
from a pass catching perspective, from a protection perspective, elusiveness in space, I'd agree with the Kamara side. But overall, I think I'd probably lean closer to Gibbs in totality, but I'll be honest, I just haven't completed a comp that I really like for Henderson.
Yeah, but well, if he were to go, so how about this? You asked me to rank him in the last pod where we were going over the Daniel Jeremiah mock. Okay, so now you got to rank him in this one as if the landing spots were as McShay has them in this mock. So let's just say for Dynasty. All right. For Dynasty, how do you rank these players? Las Vegas Raiders running back Ashton Genty, Chicago Bears running back in Ben Johnson's system, Omarion Hampton, or Sean Payton's new pseudo Alvin Kamara / Jahmyr Gibbs in the Denver Broncos running back Travion Henderson.
People are going to absolutely hate this. This would be viewed as a hot take, but in all honesty, the direction I would want to draft these guys in, not because of where they're going to be drafted because of ADP, not because of anything else, but the order at which I would personally want to play these guys on my team and rank them, given those landing spots in the first round, I would vastly prefer Omarion Hampton at 1, Travion at 2, and Ashton Genty at 3. And that makes me just want to throw up, but it's the facts.
This is Anthony Richardson, and you're listening to Roster Watch.
This is AJ Brown, and you're listening to Roster Watch.
This is Josh Allen, and you're listening to Roster Watch.